The Yakuza games are well known for gripping drama, charismatic and complex characters, gorgeous cinematic cutscenes, and brutal street fights. But there's one thing that I think the series does better than any other game series out there. In this video, I'm going to cover every single minigame in every single mainline Yakuza game. I won't be dedicating too much time to each minigame, as I don't want this video to be an hour long. In a pinned comment, I will leave a list detailing which title each minigame can be found in, if you want to play any of them yourself. Let's get started. The karaoke minigame is probably one of the most well known in the series due to this. The minigame is a straightforward and simple rhythm game with amazing outfit changes and background cutscenes. Karaoke is a billion-yen industry in Japan and is incredibly popular with all kinds of people, so its inclusion here makes sense. Each game has a unique selection of songs to enjoy. Mahjong is a classic game that originated in China in the mid-1800s and was brought over to Japan in the early 1900s. This game may seem a little confusing at first, but it's actually very confusing. It's somewhat similar to poker, but with extra steps and mind games. The aim of the game is to create hands, called Yaku. You play by discarding one tile you don't want, then picking up a new tile to hopefully create what you do want. You can also steal tiles from other players, but this will open your hand to the other players. This means that you will score less. If you've got a concealed hand and can complete your hand without stealing tiles, you'll get more points. The Real Estate Royale minigame has you buying and investing in properties during the Japanese bubble economy in 1988. You have the ability to change out the staff members to improve how well each business will perform, and this minigame will generate profits for the player to use for other purchases in-game. The people Kiryu meets throughout the side quests can become potential employees in this mode too. The Pocket Circuit minigame sees you customizing a small toy car and racing it against other NPCs. This is based on the real-life Tamiya Mini 4WD racing cars, a Japanese toy that became popular in the 1990s. There have even been real-life tournaments just like in the game. The Disco minigame has the player moving a little character over tiles and pressing the corresponding button at the correct time, while Kiryu and Majima boogie in the background to some feel-good music. This energy, I think, again perfectly encapsulates the feeling of the 1980s Japan bubble era. Everybody felt rich, happy, and on top of the world, and if you look back at old pictures of the time, it very much shows. The Colosseum minigame is an underground arena where you can fight against opponents and work your way up to champion. Not much to be said here, it's entirely fictional and just to smash buttons and fight more. There are batting cages you can go to. These Japanese batting cages are directly influenced by American culture, and the first one was imported in 1965. Kiwami games introduce more traditional activities as minigames, such as a golf driving range, bowling, darts, and pool. All of these are very common activities and played as expected, so I don't have much to say. Shogi is essentially Japanese chess and will feel familiar. However, the player can play captured pieces back onto the board and promote their own pieces. The word shogi means general's board game, and its roots trace very far back in history to the ancient Indian game of Chaturanga. Majima Construction is a large minigame that sees you placing units and battling against rival clans. In-universe, Majima Construction builds Kamurocho Hills here in the West Park area. Though it takes a long time to be finished, starting construction in Yakuza 2 and seeing completion in Yakuza 5. The photo booth is a very small minigame, it simply lets you take pictures. I wonder if this is even considered a minigame. The Yakuza games are often set in Kamurocho, which is based on the real-life place Kabukicho, the Red Light District. In this next section, I will talk about the Red Light District minigames. I will first say that whilst I find the inclusion of these minigames to be technically accurate to the setting and its culture, I don't think they accurately show the life or struggles of the women portrayed. These minigames are most definitely included predominantly for the male gaze, and to pretend otherwise would be silly. That said, let's look into the culture surrounding them. The telephone minigame has you answering a phone dramatically and trying to pick the correct responses to get a woman to go on a date with Kiryu. These telekura or telephone clubs are real-life establishments where typically male clients will pay to have a phone call with a woman in the hopes of going on a date. Many of these were fronts ran by the Yakuza for illicit and illegal activities. Minigames that also showcase some of the seedier establishments located in Kabukicho include the hostess clubs and the massage parlors. The Japanese Catfight Club is also a minigame. I have nothing to say other than it's pervy. The Cabaret Club minigame is quite big, and the most tame of all of these red light minigames. You know those dress-up games for girls on the computer? It's that. You are the boss of a club and work with a group of hostesses, aiming to squeeze as much money as possible out of the men that attend the club. Host and hostess clubs in Japan are nightlife establishments that have a focus on social and emotional interaction rather than anything else. They aim to provide conversation, drinks, and games for their customers. There is also a market for male hosts that flirt and spend time with female customers, and they all have a particular look called Host K that I find interesting. Mesu King is a minigame based on the real-life Japanese arcade game Mushi King, the King of Beetles, except again, they made it pervy for no real reason. These Mushi King arcade cabinets in real life are actually really cool, as they dispense physical trading cards that can be scanned by the machine and used for playing. The Yakuza games have a fair amount of gambling. The traditional ones I will cover very quickly, as I believe most people are familiar already. Baccarat is a simple game. You draw cards and hope to get a combined total as close to 9 as you can get. If you go over, the combined total loops back and counts up again. You can bet on yourself or the banker to win. This is said to provide the best odds to be found in a casino, second only to blackjack. Blackjack is a similar game where the goal is to get as close to 21 as possible without going over. If you go over, you lose. Poker is a popular game all over the world. It's played by first learning the possible hands you can get. The dealer will give you 2 cards, players make initial bets, then up to 5 cards are placed in the middle, revealing to you what hands you can score and also what potential hands other players might have. Roulette is played by betting on what number the ball will land on. Not much more to it. Now onto the Japanese casino minigames. Oicho Kabu is similar to Baccarat. You want to get as close to 9 as possible. However, if you get a 10-10-1, this will be an instant win. The worst hand possible in Oicho Kabu is 8, 9, and 3, which totals 20 and counts as a 0, which is a worthless hand. The Japanese for these numbers are 8, which is ya, 9, which is ku, and 3, which is za, which is where the word Yakuza comes from. I find it poetic that the Yakuza are named after a losing hand. Chohan is simply betting whether a couple of dice will land on an even or odd number. The dealer is expected to sit in a seiza position and be shirtless to prevent cheating. They are to wear a sarashi for modesty. In Silo, you simply roll some dice and hope to get a good hand with a high value. You can lose immediately if you get a 1, 2, 3. Koi Koi is a game that uses Hanafuda cards. To win, you must collect certain groupings of cards. These cards have gorgeous artwork, each one depicting a different month and the changing seasons. Due to the ban on gambling in Japan, these cards were created as a disguised way to play gambling games. A common fun fact is that Nintendo started out by creating Hanafuda cards. Throughout the Yakuza games, there are many Japanese Sega arcades that you can go in. These arcades have all been rebranded to Gigo now, but they have been immortalized here with the big Sega sign out front. These Sega arcades include full original Sega arcade games for the player to enjoy. These aren't minigames that have been built from the ground up for the Yakuza series, but actual retro games that are owned by Sega and have been put into Yakuza. There are a couple of exceptions, but I will come to them. UFO catcher machines can be found in nearly every Yakuza game and are based off of the real-life Sega machines. They function just like your traditional claw machine, and you can collect all of the different plushies found in them. Super Hang-On released in 1987. This is the sequel to Hang-On, which was the first game ever to feature a motorcycle cabinet that you physically sit on and ride to play. Outrun is another arcade game in Yakuza, and it is similar to Super Hang-On, but it has branching paths. Fantasy Zone is a side-scrolling shooter that contains what some consider Sega's first mascot, Opa Opa. This character can also be found in Sonic All-Stars Racing. This is Space Harrier, and I unfortunately have nothing to say about Space Harrier. Toilets is a minigame where you pee. You can only play this minigame if you've drank a lot of liquids in-game first. Then you can enter the bathroom in the arcade and play a game. Believe it or not, this is actually a real thing Sega made, and they released it in 2011, which doesn't line up with when Yakuza Kiwami 2 is set in 2006. Virtual On is one of the very first arena fighters to exist. It released in 1995, a couple of years after games like Virtua Fighter hit the scene. Boxelios and Boxelios 2 are not real games. They've been created from the ground up to put in the virtual Sega arcades in Yakuza. These games are arcadey bullet hell style shooters. The Gunner Haien arcade game is another fictional arcade game, very similar to Boxelios. Answer X Answer is an old trivia question game that has since had its online ranking and battle modes ended. I find this really unique and interesting though, I wish they were still around. Yakuza 5 gives the player a free copy of Virtua Fighter 2 within it, which is great. This is a retro 3D fighting game that is critically acclaimed and was hugely successful in arcades in the 90s. Puyo Puyo is a game series in its own right. It's a puzzle game that requires you to match up colours to score points while you battle an opponent. This is often considered one of the hardest minigames required for 100% in Yakuza 6. Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown is one of the many different versions of Virtua Fighter 5 that has been released over the years. This is in itself a big game that can be purchased separately, so it's very cool that it's included here. However, there is no online multiplayer. Taiko no Tatsujin is included in Yakuza 5 as well, which is a very popular rhythm game that in real life has you banging a big drum controller. Pachinko machines are really popular in Japan. It's basically a slot machine combined with pinball. To play, you just want to hope the little balls go into the middle, not much to it at all. Pachinko for a while was used as a loophole in gambling laws. You buy the little metal balls to play with, and if you win more, they can be exchanged for gold-plated prizes and can then be sold for cash, usually at a very close-by location. Yakuza 3 introduces fishing. You cast, hook, and reel it in. It's simple, but can still be fun for many hours. Okinawa is an island known for its gorgeous beaches and amazing coral reefs. Seafood is popular there, and there is no license needed for fishing. We also get to play billiards here rather than just pool. In Yakuza 4, when playing as Saejima, you can play the minigame Make a Battler. This sees Saejima training up apprentices at a martial artist dojo before they go into battles. This minigame might look familiar to some of you. It shares a lot of the same animations and mechanics as Virtua Fighter 5. Yakuza 4 introduces table tennis, and Yakuza 5 introduces air hockey. I couldn't find anything interesting to say about these two. There is a noodle serving minigame where you have to make sure you cook and serve the noodles at the correct hardness. I feel that this suits Kiryu as he spent a significant amount of time at this point cooking for the kids at the orphanage. The location this minigame is located in is based off of Nakasu in Fukuoka, which is famous for having these riverside food stalls. The hunting minigame in Yakuza 5 again reflects the real-world environment that the game city is based off of. The real city is called Sapporo, and they have a Yezo Saika deer population of over 730,000. That's a lot of deer, and the number keeps on growing. Of course, this will have knock-on effects for the ecosystem and other wildlife in the area, and so the deer are often hunted, making its inclusion in the game via a minigame make total sense. In Sapporo, you can also do a snowball fighting minigame. This isn't strictly related to this minigame, but I want to take a chance to encourage you to go and look at the Sapporo Snow Festival sculptures. They are absolutely incredible. Yakuza 5 has a chicken racing minigame, and whilst technically chicken racing isn't illegal, gambling on it is. Dance battles are a minigame that are part of up-and-coming idol Haruka's training. Dance battles are basically a rhythm game. A similar minigame appears again years later in the spin-off game Lost Judgment. Kiryu briefly takes up employment as a taxi driver, and so they turned it into a minigame. This is the first and only time we get to drive a car around the iconic cities in the Yakuza series. Yakuza 6 has a minigame where old Grandpa Kiryu, with his pointed fingers, tries to flirt with hot singles in his area, and you have to help him type out words. It only took 6 games, but finally there is a gym minigame, so we can see Kiryu stay in shape. We can only assume he's been doing this the whole time. I talked about fishing already, but this is spearfishing. It's a lot more intense than traditional fishing and functions like a traditional on-rails shooter. Nearly every single Yakuza game has baseball in the batting cages, but this takes it a step further, allowing you to become the manager of a real baseball team, letting you train up players and manage your roster. In Yakuza 7, there are vocational schools, which offer trivia questions. If you get them correct, it boosts your personality stats. Ichiban is homeless for a large part of Yakuza 7, and is accepted by the homeless community. He is soon taught that one way to make cash and survive is to collect cans and get the small amount of pay for delivering them to be recycled. Certain laws in Japan were passed that ended up making this a criminal activity, but the homeless relied upon this to survive. The city of Kyoto amended this with a clause that respects homeless people's independence. The Vintage Theatre minigame is a bizarre one that sees Ichiban trying to stay awake whilst watching movies in a cinema. Many of the films here are puns and references to classics. Dragon Kart is a kart racing minigame that mimics the real-life kart racing that can be done on the streets in certain parts of Japan. Ichiban Senbei is a large company management minigame. This can be a large source of income for the player. These snacks can also be purchased in real life at the Sega store in Japan. A bunch of Yakuza 8's new minigames are distinctly Nintendo flavored. Infinite's Wealth's largest minigame is Dondoko Island. This is a trash heap of an island that requires a lot of cleaning up, but eventually can become a little island getaway for holidaymakers. This is a little bit like Animal Crossing in some ways, with bug catching and collecting wood and stone and inviting new people onto your island. The Crazy Delivery minigame sees Ichiban get a job as a food delivery guy. You cycle around, flipping over cars and collecting all of the things. The fun fact here is that this is one of my favourite minigames of the entire series. Sujimon battles are basically knockoff Pokemon battles, using the crazy weirdo enemies that Ichiban thinks up in the Like a Dragon world. This is a super extensive and fun minigame that has its own typing matchups and legendaries to collect. Sicko Snap is a kind of Pokemon Snap clone. You're on rails and have to snap pictures of the freaks and weirdos you can see around Hawaii. And lastly, the Mismatch minigame. Because Ichiban has literally never had a girlfriend, he gets set up with a dating profile, and it's your job to make him as attractive as possible. There are so many minigames and arcade games in Yakuza that I almost forgot that Yakuza 8 added Spike Out, Sega Bass Fishing, and Virtua Fighter 3. I'm recording this mid-edit because I couldn't let them go unmentioned. And that is just about every single minigame that is to be found in every mainline Yakuza game, from 0 all the way up to 8. I really hope I haven't missed any, but if you've noticed one that I haven't mentioned, please write it in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. I worked incredibly hard on it. Please subscribe, share it, and if you like Yakuza, I have a couple of other Yakuza videos that you might also enjoy. Thanks, bye.